Hey, my name is Ryan, and today I look inside what I think is the best value boot you can get for your money. And spoiler alert, I was shocked in a good way to see what I found out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please enjoy. Before we turn the camera around and look at every single component that goes into the Urban Wolf Club boots, I want to clear the air on a couple of things. First, I conditioned these boots. These are their Colt boots, and I put Obanoff's conditioner on them. That's how I got this look. So if you go on their website, you're not going to be able to find this exact looking boot. Basically, it's their Colt boot in that yellowish leather with the Obanoff's oil on it, and that's what you get. And I think it looks amazing. And I love this boot, and it broke my heart to do this, but I think it was worth it. The other thing I want to clear the air with is I said I would cut these boots in half if I got 500 likes on a comparison video I did last month. Now, that was a big mistake. I should have given it like a timeline, like 500 likes in a week or something like that. But no, I said 500 likes. And so it obviously, after a couple months, it got 500 likes. I also got a lot of comments from longtime subscribers of mine saying, don't do it. You're just adding to the landfill. It's a ripoff of Roseanneville. And I really appreciate those comments. So this is what I have decided to do. Instead of just cutting the boot in half and essentially ruining it for good, I decided to kind of take it apart piece by piece so we can see what goes into it. And what this will allow me to do is go to my local cobbler and actually have them rebuild it. And I'm thinking I'm going to do something kind of custom with it anyway. So it's a win-win in most situations. We get to see every piece that goes into this boot and it doesn't ruin the boot because I really do love these boots. And I did pay for these boots. This isn't a sponsor. This is just a fan looking at what you get. Now I'm going to turn the camera around and take a deep dive into every component. And I think you're going to be blown away like I was. I think the easiest way to go about this deconstruction and material deep dive is to kind of start from the bottom up. And actually, before I start, I want to say I have a new respect for cobblers who do this on a daily basis. Now, I don't have the right tools, but man alive, it was tough ripping this thing apart, and I injured myself. First of all, look at that blister I gave myself. That's wild. And I stabbed myself in the thigh. So, I mean, yeah, kudos to you cobblers. I thought I was pretty tough. I had been a furniture builder for 10 years, but it is really tough tearing this apart. I thought I might actually try to rebuild them, but that's not going to happen. I just don't have the skill for it. And I also want to shout out a channel about boots because his boot video where he basically did the same thing to a pair of Trumans and to a pair of Allen Edmonds. This kind of inspired me to kind of look at the boot this way because it's going to help me really see what's going into it. Much like a cobbler video, when they're repairing a boot, they do the same thing. So, again, not a ripoff of Rose Anvil cutting in half. I plan to do something with these boots in the future. But to start off, we have the heel pad. So it's a nice heel pad. Everything, nothing special about this heel pad. They use they use 5 nails to nail it in. This is part of the top lift. This is the first piece of leather that was on here. And I was kind of shocked with how well the nails do. I thought they were more decorative, but they actually did really hold on the piece. So that's a nice thick veg tan piece of leather in the heel. And you can see that from the outside of the shoe. So there's no big surprises there. But then this, man, I could not get the other piece of veg tan away from the sole. It was so sticky, but that's what you get there. There's your second piece of veg tan leather for that heel stack, and that will transition us right into our sole. Now, I have been incredibly impressed with this sole. I have tried to beat these boots up as much as I can, and the wear on them is just fantastic. I think they're softer, so I thought they'd be squishier and wear quicker, but I think the softer compound just makes them a little bit more comfortable and then it doesn't wear as fast because there's more give to it, if that makes any sense. But I mean, it was so hard peeling this off that I don't see it ever failing. I mean, it's going to take years for the heel stack to fail. And the same was true about peeling this off from the midsole. It was so difficult. It took me so long. I was ripping this thing apart trying to get it off that I think this boot is going to last for a long, long time. So a 10 out of 10 with the materials here so far. But so far, I mean, this is kind of standard. There are some things in this boot that aren't standard and what make it even more special, in my opinion. I'm going to kind of move that away. So here we have the midsole. So it's a nice piece of veg tan midsole. Now, it's not the thickest piece of veg tan there ever was, but it's definitely enough support. And I'll show you why that is plenty of support in just a second. But yeah, just a very nice veg tan midsole. Now, I didn't actually get a shot of the cork. It seems like good cork. I mean, I don't know what the difference is between good and bad cork, but it was really good. And it, had already formed to my feet. So that's just a solid veg tan midsole. Going up there, we have the shank, two rib shank. Really good shank. I mean, it's not a three rib shank. I guess that could be better. But again, we're talking about a $150 boot. We got some cork coming off. We're rolling with it. And just a really good shank, a lot of good arch support. Again, this is a shank that's going to last many years. I don't think you'll have any issues with that shank. So far, this boot seems more like a $400 boot, honestly, if I'm being completely honest. Then we go to their welt. Again, nothing special here, just a veg tan welt that was extremely difficult to take off. Cobbler videos show them just ripping this right off. I couldn't break the chain stitch or something. This took forever. Really, I know some of you wanted me to record me doing this, but it was just me sweating and grunting and being irritated the whole time. So it was so hard to take apart. But yeah, nothing special here. Just a nice veg tan welt. Again, they sand the welt really well. It's a good quality welt. The boot will be able to be resold time and time again. And there is nothing wrong with that. Okay, here is where we're going to start with the really, really shockingly good stuff. So up from there is you have your footbed. So here's the footbed. There's my footprint, and then on it it says 30 hobo. So I don't know what they were trying to tell me there. No, I don't know if it's Spanish or for what it has to say, but you have the nailed in. These were super tough to get out too. Man, this thing was just like killing me the whole time. But the thing that makes this special at first is on the bottom. So this had cork and the shank, as you can see there, but I peeled it all apart. And what you have here is a full piece of chrome tan leather that's been stitched to the insole slash lasting board and then flared up. And that is what they use as their gemming. If you know about Goodyear welted boots, if, for example, like a Red Wing boot has a fabric gemming glued on, and that's what they stitch the welt to essentially, like that. And sometimes that fabric can get loose. And when you're resoling it, they have to reglue it, and colours will have to reglue it. But this is really special because this will never get loose. Since that piece of leather is stitched down to the insole, that will never shift. That gimming will stay good. You'll be able to resole this boot time and time again with that welt and with this gimming. So that is a really, really cool feature of the boot. I think that is amazing. I have never seen that before. It kind of is like a mixture between a hold fast where they take a thick piece of edge and they cut the groove in, and then the standard Goodyear welt where they do a gimming. This is like a hybrid of that, and it really gives you the best of both worlds. It's another piece of leather you're sitting on or you're standing on with the boot, and it's just, I mean, that is awesome. That blew my mind. And speaking of the insole, look how thick that insole is. I mean, that is unbelievable. It's like 5/16 thick. That I think is one of the thickest insoles I've ever seen on a boot. I mean, it really did conform nicely. It's a nice piece of, I think they call it Vachetta veg tan leather, but that is unreal. I mean, you're sitting on just a ton of leather and cork with this boot. For $150, my mind can't even really comprehend it. It's just so awesome, and the quality is so good. Now, it's not like a super refined boot like a John Lofgren or anything like that, but it is just amazing for that price. This boot will last incredibly long. I just can't say that enough. And next we'll go to the insole. So this is the insole that you get with it. Just a little thin piece of what looks like chrome tan leather and some foam. This goes right on top of that, adding to your layers. Now, if you watch my reviews of this boot, I didn't rock the insole. I just did that. And there's a reason. I noticed that the heel was pretty tough. Now, this conformed really nicely like a normal boot would, but the heel was really tough. It was like there was no give in the heel. So I put in a little half insole, or I was thinking I could just cut this in half and just have that little bit of foam under your heel. And now it all makes sense why that heel was so tough and that you should just rock this insole. I mean, I would prefer a half insole with this style of boot, but if you buy them just straight over the counter, or maybe they'll custom make a half insole, but you really need some foam under that heel because, again, something that I've never seen before is they had a piece of leather here that the nails went through. The nails weren't going through cork. They were going through this little, what I'm calling like a chip of leather, of veg tan leather, just to make it stronger. Now, that meant there was no cork underneath your heel, so you just had a ton of leather underneath your heel, which made it hard. But I think that will make the boot just last a crazy long time. I've never seen this before, and I really think it is something special with the boot. Again, just what you're seeing with this insole, this gimming, this leather gimming, this this boot will last forever. That kind of handles all the components that you're standing on. Let's look at the actual boot leather. So the boot is nice. Now this is where, you're not getting the best. It's all fine. It's all leather that's tanned in Leon, Mexico. Sorry, I'm looking for uh, we have the casualty. Something has fallen. And that is the toe puff. So the toe puff is just you know, I don't know, is this elastic? I'm not really sure. It's just a regular toe puff. Now, I asked them not to put this in when I order them because, I also asked them not to put the logo on there, but they did, which is okay. But I would have preferred it just this unstructured toe. And I think the next one I get, I'll just get an unstructured toe too. But so that's not the greatest thing. But I mean, this is being put in boots that are 3, 4 times the price. So I'm not going to like ding it big on that. But the other thing is this lining leather. This lining leather is actually pretty thick lining leather. The only issue I've heard about it is that it rubs off on people's socks. I've seen that. I have white socks when I wear white socks with this. That brown top pigment, which is definitely a pigment. This is a corrected grain leather, so it's not the best. It does rub off on your socks. So they could they could improve on that. Just do a natural finish on this, and I don't think you'd have the problem. But it is a nice thick leather. Again, it's going to last a long time. And then the upper leather, again, it's just really good quality, thick, chrome tan leather. This is chrome tan leather. They will do a rough out version of their boots too. So ask about the rough out versions. They don't advertise that on their website, but you can customize them like all sorts of stuff. So you can even customize a gusseted tongue if that's something you wanted. You can do the rough out. You can do no logo. Do a wedge sole. I guess I'm hearing that you can do. So that's really cool too. But the other nice thing that we saw when we did this rip apart was the veg tan counter. Now I had the hardest time getting into this. I thought it would be easy to pull this thing apart, and I didn't want to rip these stitches because I figure I do want to save this boot, and that would kind of permanently destroy the boot. So I'm keeping the veg tan counter inside of the boot, but I do want to show you. I can see how thick it is, and it's up there. It's up there with the P&W thickness veg counters, and it's just a nice, soft but firm. It does feel really good. It did conform to my heel and made the boot super comfortable, and no heel slip. And that exposed veg tan counter is just out of this world for $150 boot. So there you have it. There is the Urban Wolf Club boot ripped apart. A boot that I love, a boot that I think is great, a boot I tried to beat up and kill, but this is an amazing value at this price. And I do want to now talk about one of the main negatives I've been hearing so far about the company, and that is with some of their customer service. So I'll tell you what happened here. I'm not making excuses for them. I'm not sponsored by them, but I'm just going to let you know what happened is me and a couple of YouTubers made a video about the boot being the best value boot. And basically they got way too much business than they could handle. And I understand why they got it. None of us lied. We all just spoke how we felt about the boot, and you guys responded. So I'm sorry that the customer service hasn't been great. Again, I'm not affiliated with them, but I do stand behind this brand because of what you get. But I do hear that they're trying to improve this. They're trying to hire people. They're trying to get it where they can produce these quicker. So some people are still waiting for their boot. It's worth the wait. It's an amazing boot. You will not regret getting this, and you'll have it for forever, especially if you take care of this upper leather. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know if you have any questions about this boot. I'll try to get back to them. I appreciate your viewership. Have a good one, and I will see you on the next one.